All right, today we're going to talk about something called the incubation effect. Sounds kind of scientific, right? But really, it's all about that powerful urge you sometimes get, the one to just vanish. And it turns out that feeling might just be your brain's secret weapon.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You're scrolling, you're replying, you're swiping, and then bam, out of nowhere, this overwhelming urge just hits you. The desire to just delete it all. Wipe the slate totally clean.
And I don't mean just deleting a couple of apps. No, we're talking about that full-on desire to go completely off the grid, to be totally unreachable, even if it's just for a little while. So let's give this a name, okay? Let's call it the vanishing act. It's this super modern thing that so many of us go through. But honestly, very few of us really get what's going on. And here's what it looks like when it happens. The phone gets turned off, notifications go silent, texts, yep, they go unanswered. Your entire online presence just fades to black. You're pulling a total disappearing act from your digital world.
Okay, so what is really going on here? How are we supposed to read this? Is it a sign that something's wrong, that you're breaking down, or is it something else entirely?
And this is where that nasty little voice of self-doubt starts to creep in, right? We start asking ourselves things like, am I failing? Am I just not keeping up? Am I letting people down? Is this a breakdown happening? We might even start calling ourselves flaky or antisocial.
But here's where things get really interesting. Look at this. On one side, you've got the fear. It tells you you're having a breakdown. But on the other side, you've got the science, and it calls this an incubation. We think we're being antisocial, but we're actually just recharging. We're worried about burnout, but in reality, it could just be your brain prepping for a major creative breakthrough.
Yeah, this quote absolutely nails it. That feeling, that powerful urge to disconnect, it isn't a bug, it's a feature. And psychology actually has a name for this whole process, and it's something totally essential for a creative mind.
It's called the incubation effect. And seriously, once you understand this, it can completely change how you see those moments when you just need to pull back from the world.
So here's the bottom line. Your best, deepest, most creative ideas, well, they just can't compete with the constant noise of notifications, emails, and messages. They need silence. They need that period of disconnection to kind of bubble up from the back of your mind to the front.
So try to think of it less like you're running away from everything. It's more like you're building a quiet, clean little workshop for your mind. You're not escaping. You're just creating the absolute perfect conditions for your best ideas to finally show up.
Okay, that sounds great, right? But how does it actually work? Let's dive into the two key things that are happening in your brain when you go through this process of reclaiming your mind.
All right, we're going to break down two big ideas here. First, reclaiming your cognitive bandwidth. And second, overcoming something called hedonic adaptation. First up, cognitive bandwidth. Just think of it as your brain's available RAM. When you're constantly connected, you're running in that red zone. It is absolutely exhausting. But the moment you disconnect, you drop down into that healthy green zone, and boom, you've just freed up a massive amount of mental energy.
And that freed up energy, that is exactly what you need for the good stuff, for deep work, for learning something new, for finally solving that tricky problem. So that vanishing act isn't you being flaky. It's a strategic retreat to get the resources you need to do something great.
Okay, next up is this thing called hedonic adaptation. Let's talk about the dopamine hit you get from likes. Come on, remember that very first post that blew up? It was a huge thrill, right? Peak excitement. Then, maybe 6 months later, it still feels pretty good. But today, you might get 100 likes and barely even notice. The reward just isn't the same.
But wait, this isn't a bad thing. Actually, it's a really good thing. It's a sign of emotional maturity. Your brain is adapted. It's basically telling you, hey, I'm over this. I'm ready for something deeper, something more meaningful than just a cheap hit of validation from a notification. So when you put all of this together, what do you get? That urge to disappear. It's not a weakness, not at all. It's actually a sign that you have this incredible creative superpower at your disposal.
You can think of it like an alert system built right into your brain. It's your mind tapping you on the shoulder and saying, okay, hey, I've got enough information, I've had enough noise, now I just need some quiet time to process all this stuff and actually build something new.
And what this shows us is a really powerful, repeatable cycle. It starts with the signal, that urge to disconnect. Then comes the action. You intentionally step away and you don't feel guilty about it. And then finally you get the result, those deep breakthrough ideas that can only show up when it's quiet.
So what's the big takeaway here?
It's this. Don't fight that feeling. Don't tell yourself there's something wrong with you. Embrace it. That silence you're craving, that's the good stuff. That's the fertile ground where your best work, your most brilliant ideas are just waiting for you to show up.
So I'll leave you with this thought. The next time you feel that pull to vanish, don't ask, what's wrong with me? Instead, I want you to ask yourself a much, much more exciting question. What am I about to create?